I am Sam Lewis,
And I'm Michael Roberts.
and you're watching Let's Talk About It with Raheem Mitchell.
Let's talk about it. Say I just heard about a show. Let's talk about it, talk about it. Where the independent artists go. Let's talk about it, talk about it. Niecy got a new EP. Let's talk about it, talk about it. Stephanie's doing comedy. Let's talk about it, talk about it. That girl from LA and that guy. Let's talk about it, talk about it.
And now your host of Let's Talk About It, Raheem Mitchell.
Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Raheem Mitchell. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope everybody is enjoying their family and friends and just loving on one another, because that's what we need nowadays is love. And speaking of that, I have two very important gentlemen here tonight. First gentleman I have is Mr. Sam Lewis, and I also have, I call him Big Mike, Mike, that's my boy Mike. But, you know, Steamroller Productions, Mr. Mike. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome both to Let's Talk About It. How you doing, fellas?
Doing great.
What's
Doing good.
going
How you
on,
doing?
man? Just
And enjoying being back. You know, this is number two for me. So
Yes,
I'm
sir.
enjoying being back.
welcome back, man. And, you know, this guy did my shirts, and hey, trust me, this man works hard for the money.
That's right.
So,
Got to.
yeah. And you got both of you guys are good friends with my director, Cauldron Knight.
That's
And,
right.
So let's go down. As I know we were in the green room talking about a lot of things going down memory lane, but it's a lot. It's something that all three of you have in common.
Yes.
So let's you talk about it. Tell us a little bit about it and how it all got started.
Sure. Well, I've been knowing, as you call him Mike. I call him Big Mike.
Right.
I've been knowing him for pretty much 30 years.
Right.
We both
At
grew up
least.
at least 30 years, and we've been friends for that long. And how I met Brother Cauldron is through Big Mike, and how we currently connect is through a group that I started called Men's Empowerment Movement.
Yes.
So, when I say men's empowerment movement, I often have to kind of digress and explain, because it's not to exclude women.
Right.
It's so that we can become good men for our wives and
Right.
for our children and really the community as a whole.
Right.
That's what it's about. I think women do it incredibly well. They don't have I look at my mom. She's always on the phone talking to somebody.
Right.
Right. And I often see like the men that I'm connected to, like Big Mike here or Cauldron, we can often be working and not communicating.
Right.
So that's really what it was about. It's, we all have goals, kids, families to support, but we don't often talk and support each other, because we often on the inside have goals. So that's really what the genesis was. I'm like, hey, we talk individually, but why don't we talk as a group? Why don't we support each other as a group? So that was kind of the genesis of the men's empowerment movement. Yeah.
Okay. So when you sat down and you thought about it, did you knew who you were going to invite into this group, or what was your outcome? How did you get Mike and Cauldron involved?
I believe we all have men in our own community,
Yes.
right? In your own sphere of influence that need some uplifting. Maybe not all the time, but maybe there's times where I need it.
Right.
And there's times where, Big Mike is uplifting me and vice versa. So that's all really it was. It was really just reaching out, hey, why don't we come together every couple weeks? Why don't we talk about our goals? We all have goals. I want to buy a house. I want my kids to have a college fund. I want, to do this for my community. I want to do this for the church or my business. Well, why don't we support each other in that effort to accomplish that? So that's really what it was. It was one person reaching out. Mike reached out to Brother Cauldron. I reached out to Big Mike. I have my cousin. He has his best friend that's a part of it. And so that's how we began to grow.
Right.
It's just one man touching another man and saying, hey, there's something that God has placed on the inside of our heart, a dream, a goal. It's there for a reason. You got to go get it.
Right.
Let's encourage each other in the pursuit of that. So that's kind of how that started.
That's cool.
Yeah.
'Cause it's right now. That's what we need for a lot of our young men now.
Yes.
That's you have the young men that's out there doing what they want to do. But I remember I was sitting in church, and this one pastor started talking, and he was like, "I'm gonna talk to all you men out there, excuse me, who have children who have boys mainly, 9 and under, and they saying it's a certain age. If you don't let him know by the age of 12, if you don't bring him in, get him involved with something, then he's going to fall to the streets. So it's something that you have to do to get him before the age. I don't know why he said before to the age of 12, because I guess that's when their mind is really starting to, really form, really develop, trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong. And then when they was telling me, when Mike was telling me about the group you guys have, I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that something that like you would want to bring your son into?
Oh, absolutely. It is definitely motivational. And just like, I think I've been in it a little bit over a year, like almost going on 2 years. But he came to me before a while ago,
I did.
and they were, a group of the guys were coming together. They were going out to eat, and he invited me to go. And I thought about it, but in part of my head, I was like, I ain't going to do that. It's like I ain't got no time for that. But it's like he was persistent with it. He brought it up before, and every now and then when they would have something come up, he's like, yeah, we meet on Sundays for like an hour. Just come check it out, see if you like it. So I was like, what? I was like, let me try it just to see. Let me hear what they talking about. I was like, I'll just do just this one Sunday. I'll be good. But it's just the impact that you get from it. You see, there are literally other guys, because, when you first think about it, okay, these guys, they got all their businesses already. They got this, they got that, and I'm the one that's coming in and don't have nothing. You sit there and you think you're going to be, demotivated, you're going to feel, less than everybody else. But when you get there, everybody is going through the exact same things you are. They're either trying to start their business, or, say they're just going through a divorce, or, they're trying to get to the process of buying a house but don't know where to start. So you have all these guys that are coming from different demographics but are going through a lot of the same things, and it's extremely motivating. Like you were saying before, you have women that have groups like this all the time, whether it's a book club or whether it's this. They come together doing that, but they talk about regular everyday life stuff. Guys don't have that. So to have this and have guys that are in the same age group as you are, that's dealing with the same things you are, and it makes you feel way more comfortable. And then when you talk about things you want to do, and it's one thing you can tell somebody, hey, I'm trying to start my business. Okay, that's cool. But then like the next day or a couple of days later, they ask you, how's this process going, or did you start doing this? Where they keep you keep you accountable of the things that you said you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's what motivates you even more, because every time we come back, we check in with each other. Like, a couple weeks ago, you said you were doing this. How far are you in that process? Do you need help with this? I can recommend this. So with having that, it's extremely motivating, because when I came in, I was, right before, COVID hit and everything went down to where I ended up being laid off from my job of 10 years. And then at the same time, I was in a process, I've been telling myself I wanted to start my business, my graphic design business. So being in this group, they were like, why don't you start that? Or, what do you want to do first? So with having that, when that time came to where I ended up being laid off from my job, I wasn't scared. I wasn't worried about it, because I already knew what I wanted to start doing. And just with having these guys behind me, it wasn't even behind me financially. It was just, mentally. And I was like, what? I can do this because I have these guys behind me.
Right.
And we're a little bit more than 2 years into it. I didn't miss not one bill. Everything was taken care of. My son graduated from high school, was able to play in all the sport things he wanted to do. Had a great prom, graduation, the whole nine. Now he's away at college, enjoying life. And I didn't miss a beat, with, starting my business. And a big part of that was because of this group that kept me motivated.
Right. Yeah.
So that's something I definitely want, my sons, nephews, and either other kids that I've coached in youth sports, or just the kids that are around my neighborhood, period, that are in that, started coming into that age. They need stuff like this, because the way the world is now is 5 times worse than when we were younger.
Right.
Yeah. And you don't have as many male role models like we had, here now. So it's like we're at the point now, I feel that that's now our role.
Yes.
As those role models for these kids that are coming up, because as you see now, it's like you got every other week, you got a young rapper who's been, killed for something stupid.
Right.
Or, this kid, something is happening to where if they had that one person there just to try to talk to them once or twice out of the week,
right,
maybe they would have went left instead of going right.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel that this group is preparing us to take that role.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is truly awesome, because it's not, like you said, it's not a lot of groups out there right now. I mean, the kids that get together and have their little clique.
Yeah.
But what are they talking about? They're not talking about what you guys are talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they like back in the days, my mom used to, my stepdad used to take me something. Like, man, y'all don't think y'all doing this talking about. We used to say old folk stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and they're like, well, you shut up and come listen. You know, and I'm like, I don't want to go over there. But it's not like they're going to give you something in your hand, but they're going to give you something that you can plant. They're going to give you a seed. And they're going to plant that seed in you.
Right.
And whether you're going to nourish it and let that seed grow and listen to what they're saying, or you're not.
Right.
And when I look at you, Mike, when I look at you, Mr. Sam, and then Cauldron, and he was telling me about it and how passionate he was about how the group and all that good stuff. He said we meet once a month in Palm Springs. We go out there, we have dinner. Sure. And I said, you know what, man? I said, I know you probably can't make the decision, but see if you can get them guys on the let's get these guys on the show, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what's going on. You know, maybe we can come together and do it maybe like a sit down like this once every other month, and you guys talking about the progress. That's what's going on in your lives and in your family and with your kids and all that stuff. And then when people see that, oh, I can start my own T-shirt business. Oh, I could have my own podcast on YouTube or this and that. It's not hard. Yeah. They're doing it, so I can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's help out there. You know,
Yeah,
that's the hardest part, because especially with growing up, we dealt with a lot of to where you tell somebody you want to start this. If it's the same kind of business that they're doing, then it's that crab in a barrel effect. It's like, well, I'm not going to really tell him what he needs to do to start that, because he might be better than me, and he might take business away from me. Opposed to where if we learn this together, then we can both eat and we can both bring the next person up with us. Why does everybody? Why can one person succeed? Why not all of us succeed?
That's it.
So that's one thing that I've always been, and we talk about that on the regular. Anybody come up to me when they ask, well, how do you do this with your graphic design? What do you do this and that? I have no problem whatsoever with showing them how to do it, taking those steps, because that's not going to take anything from me. If anything, that's going to bring more to me.
That's it.
Because I do the same thing. If somebody taught me something, and I know if I'm still learning it and they're phenomenal at it, and if somebody come to me for that, I'm like, I'll tell them, I'm still working on this. I don't know it yet, but the person that taught me, they're great at this. I have no problem with directing that person there, because I know it's going to come back to me.
Right.
So I have absolutely no problem with that. And if we had more people like that, we would have a lot less people struggling.
And we in our group, we try to share our expertise to help each other. Like Mike has been very good with like graphic design. He's been an artist since the day I've known him. He's always been great at that. So anytime he does something there, I learn from it. You know, I like myself have been kind of in the corporate America. I work for a pharmacy company, like a Fortune 100 company, and I've been in that sphere for the last 20 years.
Right.
And so I bring to the group a lot of what I've learned professionally in terms of like communication and in terms of partnerships. So some of the things that I try to bring into that group so they can take back.
Right.
And we share these ideas and we support each other. And Mike said something earlier around accountability.
Yes.
That's a big part of our group, is holding each other accountable to what, if we said we're going to do it,
let's do it.
Then you got to do it.
That's right.
Because at the end of the day, the results matter. Like you got to go and get the results. Talk is cheap, right? It's good to talk about it. It's good to say it. It's good to write it down. But we have to support each other and hold each other accountable to actually go achieve that. And what's been really encouraging is we've seen people talk about it, write it down, and then to see some of those things, like a person buy a house, start that business, have their daddy-daughter days. That's that's a goal for some of the men in our group. Like, hey, I haven't had a really good relationship. I want to have a better relationship. I want to have a daddy-daughter day every month, or whatever it is.
Right.
Those are really good things. And for me personally, being from the inner city, I see a father like Big Mike here, and it's not the same narrative we often see out there. It's a different narrative. Like, I know really good men.
Right.
Right, and what we're doing in our group, I think any man can do. There's like I said, there's someone in your sphere of influence that needs some encouragement.
Yeah.
So, really, in effort of starting this men empowerment movement, it's just really to encourage. And then what I ask is that as you get encouraged, you ought to take some of that encourage and encourage others. And so, really, that's what it's about.
Yeah, because what I'm saying, it's any time it's going to be something positive, I want to get it out there. Because as you can see, if I don't know if you read the thing about my show, one thing I say, hey, the show is let's talk about it.
Yes.
Whether you want to come in and talk about your wife, your husband, your kid,
Love it.
whatever you want to talk about, come in, let's talk about it. If you want to get something off your chest and don't nobody want to listen to you, come to the show. Let's talk about it. The only thing I don't promote is hate.
Yeah.
I do not promote hate because there's enough hate going
It's enough
around.
out there.
It's enough.
It's enough out there to go around.
Yeah, right now. It's time to do some positive reinforcing and talking to people and talking to one another. Hey, so what you doing? Okay, yeah, cool. So what you doing? Okay, well, you know what? Let's get together. Then I heard about the group and I'm like, whatever y'all do, man. Yeah, I even wanted you guys to get somebody on the phone and we can talk to that person on the phone because I know as soon as they come out, man, why y'all didn't tell me, man?
Right.
I was gonna be. I just didn't want nobody to feel excluded or left
Yeah.
out. But but being the men that you are, I'm pretty sure you guys went far and beyond to get with everybody within the group and let them know this is what we're gonna be doing. And it wasn't like, hey, either you do this or you out the group. It wasn't nothing like that. It was like, hey, man, brother, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
We got another positive brother with a nice platform. He want to put it out there. And we would like for you guys to come on the show. This is what we're doing. This is the date. If you're available, cool. If not, we'll catch them on the next round.
Absolutely.
That's it. But I love what you guys are doing, man.
Yeah.
And the elaborate with me more on how. So do you guys go out and do speaking engagements like at how some churches have Men Day and they bring people in to talk to the youth and all that good stuff. So how does that work?
We haven't done that yet.
That's what we're getting
That's
to.
where we're going.
Okay.
Now, what I require
Okay.
as the leader of the group
Yes.
is that when they, it's not just me speaking,
Right.
Every person of the group has to at some point present a topic.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to. And the analogy I often use is a log, right? We're all in charge of keeping this fire going.
Right.
Now, if one person is consistently bringing a log to keep everybody warm,
Right.
that's a tougher job.
Right.
But if we all bring the logs,
Yeah.
then we can keep that fire lit.
That's
So
it.
I require that every man that's part of the group, you got to bring a log. You got to bring something that helps to push your brother and keep them going, right? And so we haven't got out yet. That's we as a group, we do want to do that. Start getting out, speaking engagements, or just supporting organizations or supporting kids a little bit
Right.
more in some way, and using our platform because, as you said earlier, I think especially for the youth, it is important for them to see this as a different example than what they can often see out there. So that's something that's definitely on our deck to do.
Yeah, because I did this one interview. Well, it was an interview. We had a bunch of kids in here touring the studio, and someone that was supposed to do something else with them didn't show up. So I was shooting my show that day. They was like, "So, Raheem, what can we do? What can we do?" I said, what you did, and their parents were here. I said, okay, I'll interview each kid, and the topic was bullying. So each one of the kids that I interviewed talked about bullying and how it made them feel, and what steps they did to avoid get the bully to leave them alone. So and then a lot of kids were like, dang, he really took his time out to actually talk to her. I'm like, yeah, why not? And I let them sit down in the chair. They took a picture, doing this and doing that. And it was like, and then later the parents were like, that was fun. They said that they had a great time. And that's one huge thing that our men need to talk about, because when I told them I used to be bullied, they were like, you? And I'm like, yeah, you gotta believe it or not. Everybody's been bullied in a certain way.
Sure.
Yeah.
It may not have been where they actually physically come up to you and hit you or something like that, but someone had something happen in their life that made them feel inferior.
Yeah.
Especially with, teachers in class and you don't know that answer and she's going to call you up to the board. That's not a
Right.
form of bullying. It's just a form of you don't know the answer, but
She gonna call you up anyway.
she's going to call you up anyway. So,
Right.
and then it's going to make you go into that little concave hole.
embarrassed and go into
get
that shell.
embarrassed
Yeah.
and go into that. And that's the same form of bullying, but it's just,
Yeah.
that's just something we need. And I'm pretty sure that that's another thing that you guys are going to do as far as talk to the the kids about bullying and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, just
Man,
all the life experiences. Like I say, I can speak for me for myself. Like you say, with the being bullying, everybody see Big Mike, but even when I was younger, I've dealt with that.
Yeah.
And of course, with me, I was always, at one point I was the chunky kid. So of course that was the big thing that they picked on.
Right.
But as you get older and you start to learn how to love yourself even with those flaws. Once you take that power away from them, then there's nothing else they can do. When I embraced the whole Big Mike thing and then, being the big teddy bear, I pulled all the positives out of it.
Yeah.
So once you learn that and you take that power away, then there's nothing else they can do. So but I had to learn that from an older person that told me, how to embrace certain things like that. Because when I was younger, I hear that I would go into that shell.
Right.
But I had the motivation around me. Like I had my father, I had uncles that were like older brothers. I had a lot of those older male role models that a lot of our kids need now.
Right.
So a lot of the things that I've learned, like I told you before, me being an artist, I learned that from my dad. That was a sketch artist by hobby. I mimicked him since age 4. I had uncles that were musicians that I mimicked, since, my first time picking up a saxophone, I was in 2nd, 3rd grade. I had an uncle that was a professional jazz player. I played saxophone from elementary all the way through high school because of him.
Right.
So I've had all that positive role model around me to where, I lived in the center of a gang neighborhood. Not once that I was ever influenced by that because I had all this other motivation around me.
Right.
If it was sports, it was music, it was art, it was something that they kept me busy with.
Yeah.
And it just, unfortunately, a lot of our kids now don't have a lot of that.
Right.
No.
And what makes it bad, so just from what I've learned, I know, Sam can say the same thing, just the way the kids are now, I try to use that, and the kids that are in my neighborhood, like my son's friends, they would all see me. I was that one dad that they could talk to. Like if they were interested in art, I'd bring them in. I would show them, my computer, my digital drawing tablet. I have them show them how to do a little stuff because they may want to do that, but because they've never had access to it or anybody showing them, they don't know how easy it is to get into that.
Right.
Or I'll tell them, they have these programs at school here. A very good friend of mine, her son, he's into video production and things like that. And when I met him, I immediately fell in love with him just with the kind of kid that he is.
Right.
And I would talk to him about this. He would, with the technology now, it makes it a lot easier for trying to do podcasts and things like that. So I would talk to him about different things. And when he finally got into his middle school, I found out they actually had a TV video production class.
Wow.
And I talked to the teacher and I talked to his mom. I'm like, why not switch his elective to this? He's showing interest in it. Instead of him being in this that he might not like, get him to switch him over here. So they switched him. Come to find out, the teacher says he's one of the best kids in that class. He helps the other students. He even helps the teacher because this is stuff that he's interested in. So he focused on it a lot quicker. So that's a win for me.
Yes.
I love seeing stuff like that. And then when it seems like that, I talk to these kids about that, but I don't talk to them like they're little kids.
Yeah.
If they're interested in it, they're going to pick up on this a lot more. It's like say when you're talking to a little kid, when you're talking to them with the baby talk, they're not going to pick up on that. But if you're talking to them, using more layman's terms, but when you're talking to them, they pick up on it a lot quicker.
Right.
I do the same thing when it comes to the art. That's why I got into coaching youth sports for so many years. I'm giving back to them what was given to me.
Right.
Yeah. And I have several kids now that are in playing college football at big universities, and I've coached them since they were age 10.
Right.
So I look at it as to where if we weren't there to do that, this kid might be in jail or something worse.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to give back, and I will continue. I don't care if I get paid $1 for doing it. I'll do that for free until the day I die.
Yeah.
Because me getting paid is seeing these kids, excel and going into high school and college and even further, just from even one of the things that I taught them.
That's it.
So that's another thing I love about this group because it keeps me motivated for doing that, and I see that there are other guys doing that as well.
Right.
So I'm going to continue because I got somebody else I can relate to about doing these things for these kids. So
Well, especially with the youth, it's like giving them a different option.
Yes.
Right. Like you talked about, like Mike and I grew up in the same city, so which it had its good parts, it had its challenges, it had its gangs, but we both never turned to that. I know his father was very strong in his life, his mother as well. I know them both. I didn't have a father growing up in my household, but I had a cousin, my cousin Anthony, who's part of this group.
Right.
He was always, the way he spoke was different. He was always intelligent. Like it was just different to be around him.
Right.
He was very inquisitive. When he was in college, he would send me down to San Diego with him to spend the summers with him and get me out of the neighborhood.
Right.
Right. And I give a lot of credit back to him because he was one of the ones that showed me a different route. Like, I don't have to be, what the options that are in front of me,
Right.
I can be something different, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, even like you talked about bullying and the kids, like letting those kids know that you're not alone.
Yes.
Like, that's a big deal.
Yes,
like,
it
you,
is.
You are not alone. Like, I went through it. We all went through it. And in that same spirit, we still do that today in our group. Like, we let each other know, as full-grown men, you are not alone,
That's
right?
it.
And so that's a big deal for, as you talked about, even when you're impressionable at a very young age.
Yes.
That's incredibly important. So we try to encourage each other and say, hey, we're even as grown men, we don't want to be alone. Like, we got to continue to encourage each other, and I think that's incredibly important for our youth as well. Yeah.
So, how many men would you say you have in total in your group?
You know, I'd probably say right now we have somewhere between about 10 active.
Right.
We have quite a bit of members that would come in and they fall off, you know. So I kind of keep in contact with them, you know, on a distance. But we probably have 10 active men right now that consistently come together on every other Sunday, and we talk about stuff. And but there's probably somewhere upwards of 15 to 20 when I consider about everybody who's been a part of the group over the last couple of years. That is, you know, I'm hoping, you know, there'll be someone like the prodigal son to come on back home at some point and be a part of the group. Because a little bit, you know, even myself, who you know, tries to lead this group, I get encouraged when, you know, like Mike was telling you, funny story about Mike. Oh, I didn't want to be a part of it. I would tell you, like, when we start our calls, Mike's on like 10 minutes early.
Right.
He's
sitting there waiting
waiting for it to start now.
To start up.
Right. Yeah. He's waiting for it to start now. So, you know, it's like I said, it's a small community, but it's powerful because it just, you know, and like I said, I think anyone can do this. I think any man has probably other men in their group or in their sphere of influence that can do this, and that's what I encourage. You know. Another big thing for us, we do promote work, all right? We promote, you know, I'm really, Big Mike will tell you, I'm really big on that. I'm really big about, hey, it's going to take work to get to that dream. It's going to take, you know, discipline to get to that dream. So Consistency. So, and we also back it up with biblical principles. You know, one of our biggest biblical principle we talk about it all the time, right? Genesis 1:28. Right. I believe there's four principles that God has given us that it makes life simpler. It doesn't make it easier.
Yes.
But it makes life simpler, and that's to be fruitful,
right,
which means to be productive, right, to multiply. And what we talk about in the group is that means to multiply yourself, right? So like a doctor doesn't come out the womb knowing what he knows. No. He goes to school, trains, and he becomes more. Right. So you can do the third principle, which is to replenish. Right. That means give back. Right. Mm-hmm. And then the fourth principle we talked about is subduing the earth. That's really creating environments of control. Right. And not environments of chaos. Right. So as men and really men of faith, we talk about we're going to be productive. Right. We're going to be fruitful. We're going to multiply ourselves. We're going to become more. We're going to give back, and we're going to create environments of control and not environments of chaos. Mm-hmm. So that's, you know, there's times where I quiz, hey, what's principle number 3? Right. And they'll be like, oh, you know, this principle. Because I want them to get it because it does make life simpler. You know what to focus on. It doesn't make life easier. Life has its challenges, but it does make life simpler. So we really, as brothers, that's what we always say. I said, you know, I call him Big Mike, but it's Brother Mike. Right. They'll call me Brother Sam or whatever, because I do believe we're all brothers. In this pursuit that we, you know, on this journey of life that we're on. Okay. So, but that's you know, that's what we focus on. That's what we talk about. That's what we push. We all have goals. We're being productive. We promote work. And it's amazing to see what you know these men are accomplishing along the way. Yeah.
So since we got Mike here, have you seen a lot of growth in Mike since he's been in the group?
I have. Well, you know, I've always been influenced by Mike. Mike's been he's been, even as a kid, very outspoken, very articulate. Right. I was more shy. You know, Mike was one of my few friends. I didn't have a whole lot. He was one of my few friends and he just embraces you. Like, you know, I met Mike through another friend of mine named Brian. And like me and Brian don't really talk anymore, but me and Mike still talk, right? Because when we connected, we could not talk for 5 years. We talk more often than that, but we would reconnect like we nothing happened. Yesterday. Our mothers are on the phone. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's I've always seen like that personality, that person, productive, creative. I've always seen that in Big Mike. That's always who he's been. And so, yeah, over the last few years, what's been interesting is to see his son grow up.
Right.
Because when I look at his son, I see that was me and him. Like,
Right.
I see his son, that's like me and him in the car with his mom,
Yeah.
driving to the shoe store. Remember? Warehouse shoe store.
Yep.
Right.
Like, when I see his son, I'm like, that was Mike when he was young. It's just incredible. So to see him grow up as a father, as a husband, and how he takes care of his kids and he influences and encourages, that's all I can ever ask for, because you can't take nothing with you. You can't, when we all leave here, you can't take clothes, you can't take cars, can't take anything. But what we do for each other, how we love each other,
Right.
I believe we can take that with us. So to see him grow over the last few years and what he's done since I've known him it really is amazing to see.
Okay. And what about you, fam?
Oh, yeah. Like you said, he was extremely shy when we first met, and it was just one of those where I think we clicked even more when we found out just how close our mothers were. And it was like it was destined to happen.
Right.
So it's just just from how he was, just from the shy kid to the take control guy that he is now. Just from being in the group and see how he runs the group and his biblical principles and just how powerful he speaks.
Right.
And that's why I can't wait because I know one of his goals that he's doing is to be a motivational speaker. I'm like, you there already.
Yeah.
And it's just, I would love to get to that point when he's in a room for 300, 400, 500 people and he's talking to them about the same kind of stuff that we do in our group. And because it's extremely powerful.
Right.
To hear him talk, and that's why we joke around how when he's finally connecting into the Zoom call, I've already been there about 10, 15 minutes waiting for him because I'm just excited to, and just ready for just our talks for that morning, and it's just and I enjoy just the fact just to see how he just is. When you hear somebody talk, it's one thing to hear somebody talk, but it's hear somebody talk with conviction.
Right.
And somebody just has that powerful voice when they talk. Yeah. You don't have to talk loud for your voice to carry.
Nah.
And it's one of those, like, when he's talking, you're in your chair, you like this, and you stuck on every single word that he's talking. There's one thing you hear somebody talking, you hear, but when he's talking, I'm looking right at the camera, staring at the screen because I don't want to miss a word of what he's saying. And when you're sitting there and he's talking and you're writing down notes. And that's especially when you're not really a note taker, but when he's talking about something, you're like, no, I don't want to forget that one. They put this one down, or I put it up on my board.
Right.
And and I just enjoy seeing that, and just on the regular, what he's talking about, how even when you were talking about starting your sports line, the Driven, we were talking about that, and I was like, you need any help with that? Because that's what I do. Let me know. We do this and that. I told him about about doing the silk screen and doing this and that. And a couple weeks later, he came back. He got his silk screen done.
Sure
he's showing one of his shirts, and I was like, you know what? Where mine at? Let me know. I got it. So just to see, like you're talking about, seeing him initially talk about that when he saw what I was doing, he's like, I want to do this. I'm like, yeah, we can do that. We do this and that. And then a few weeks later, it's not that he was talking about it. He's actually put it into play.
There you go.
Yeah.
So just to see that level of him now, just the way he talks and just his whole, his mannerisms and his demeanor. Just seeing, it's just. It make you want to sit up and fix your shirt. Like, okay, am I sitting like him? And just, so it automatically makes you do that without you doing it. That lets you know just the type of power that he resonates, because you feel it and you want to, okay, I'm sitting like this. I realized he was sitting like that. I'm sitting the same way, and I kind of just automatically did that, and I didn't realize. So that's just the kind of power that he gives off. So just seeing that from when we were kids to now, it's very motivating.
And I would tell you that's a cool, for the youth. Well, we're in our 40s now.
Right.
When we were growing up, in the inner city, they told us, hey, the danger zone for you is between 16 and 25. They would teach you this, right? Hey,
I thought it was 12, but it's okay.
Yeah, 16 to 25. They would teach you, hey, if you can make it past 25,
you're doing good.
you're doing all right.
21 was a milestone.
And just kind of reflecting after you asked that question about, where we see each other at, him being a father and where I'm going in my career, in my passion with speaking, or hopefully being, prayerfully being a motivational speaker one day, is we see each other developing, and it's a cool story.
Yeah.
To see, hey, you with your kids, and we're doing this and that, and when you're young, you're not fully developed, not even mentally yet. So even more so, I think like the youth, that's why they need encouragement.
Yes.
That's why they need examples to say, you know what, there's another path.
Yes.
There's another option. I can become more. I can do more. It's on the inside of me for a reason. I need to go get that.
Yeah.
I need to go get that. So that's what encourages me when I see the other men in my group continue to develop and become more and do more. It's like, that's pretty cool.
Yes, great, man.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Fellas, this talk is very interesting, but I got my boy in my ear telling me, I got to wrap this thing up. So, I ain't got the second wrap-up sign. So what we're going to do is, now, the next question I wanted to put out there is, so say, for instance, if I wanted to be a part of your group, do I have to be invited by somebody, or what is the steps to come into the group? So have you put it out there to where you say, hey, we're looking for men to do this manpower thing, and so how do you go about recruiting people, or how do you go by bringing people in the group?
Yeah, it's primarily been word of mouth.
Right.
But yeah, if someone says, hey, I want to be a part of your group, then we would just talk to them and say, hey, why do we want to be part of the group? It's not even really an interview. It's like, hey, I want to be encouraged. I want to be part of the group. We're going to be like, come in, be a part of it. So that's really it. It's not, some elaborate, you got to be part of the group. We just want to know who you are and come on in, be a part of it. Like, help. But it's more of you're coming in to get encouragement, but to be an encouragement as well. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So that's just it. That's like the saying at church: if you weak, you need us. If you strong, we need you.
Exactly.
It's just
There
one
you
of those
go.
things. Okay.
That's
so
exactly what it is.
What I would like for you to do is to this will be your camera here. Just give your name and tell everybody a little bit about the group and how you guys encourage people, and let them know if somebody's out there and you feel that this is something you want to do. Give them your contact information, email or whatever. And the same thing with your steamroller thing.
Steamrider Production.
Steamrider Production. I kept saying steamroller when I first met you, huh?
Yeah, but the funny part is that was actually my nickname in football, so it still sticks.
Oh, okay.
So, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. All right, so Carlton going to have you guys on that camera. Whoever want to go first.
No, okay, you go ahead and go.
All right, so start with my name.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm Sam Lewis, and I currently manage a group called Men's Empowerment Movement, which is a bunch of brothers that are coming together every couple of weeks to really encourage each other and push each other towards our goals, the goals that I believe that God has placed on the inside of us, and certainly want to encourage anyone who would love to be a part of that group. If you wanted to reach out and find out more about the group, I am on Instagram. That's probably a good platform for you to reach out to me at Driven. So the word is Driven, the number 2, and then EXCL. So Driven to Excel.
Okay.
Again, Driven, the number 2, and EXCL. So you can DM me or connect with me on Instagram, but it's a very uplifting, faith-based group that we are trying to encourage more men to pursue that dream, that goal that God has placed on the inside of us.
All right.
All right, and again, I am Michael Roberts. I am the owner and the creative director of Steamrider Productions. And if you guys, like I said, I'm an open book when it comes to it. If you guys have any questions about, graphic design, custom clothing, apparel, the whole nine, I'm willing to give any and all information. You can reach me through my website, which is Steamrider Productions. I'm also on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, the whole nine. Facebook, you can actually find me through my name, Michael Roberts. Instagram and TikTok, you can find me under Steamrider Productions. You can send me messages through there. We can talk, again, with the group. We always talk about it there. Anything you need to know, I'm here for all of us to succeed. I'm not willing to hold anything back. Anything you're looking for, let's get it done. Let's all eat together.
That's it. Let's all eat together. Yeah. Now, one question back to Mr. Sam. Now, when you say brothers, okay, most people sit down when you say brothers, they thinking it's just us.
Yeah.
So, but he's saying everybody.
There you go.
No matter what race, color, creed. So when we all brothers. So don't think that we just talking about the black man and all that. So when he say brothers, that means however you identify yourself. If you identify yourself as a brother, we can use you, okay? And this was one of the best interviews and motivating and just, You know, I remember Mike was telling me about that when I first interviewed him, and Carlton was telling me about that. Like, oh, no, see, I got to be in Palm Springs to have this meet. And that's when he started talking to me about it. I'm like, okay, well, all right. We got to bring him in and see what we're talking about. And like I say, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close. And as I'm closing, you're going to put me on. Okay. As I'm closing, I want to let everybody know there's always something out there for everyone. Don't ever feel like you don't fit in, because you do.
Yep.
You know, if you look at puzzles, you see, if you look at puzzles on the internet, they'll break the puzzles up into many pieces as you ask them to break it up into. Mm-hmm. And then when you put it all together, it's one big, beautiful picture. So don't think you don't fit in nowhere, because you fit in somewhere. You just have to take that step and get out there and do it.
That's right.
And remember, don't ever share your 8x10 dream with somebody with a 5x7 mind. My name is Raheem Mitchell. Thank you for tuning in. God bless. I'll see you next week. Peace. Give it up for my man.
Let's talk about it, talk about it. Let's talk about it, talk about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it, talk about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
That girl from
Let's talk
LA
about
and that
it.
guy.
Let's talk